So we've got a haunted house movie that's a little bit less about the haunted house and more so about the haunted marriage. Things Heard and Seen is a horror drama released on Netflix just yesterday, directed by Shari Springer Berman and Robert Pulcini, starring Amanda Seyfried, James Norton, and Natalie Dyer. The two main characters that are in this film are played by Amanda Seyfried and James Norton. So we've got George and Catherine, a seemingly happy couple who are moving from the big smoke in the big city out to the sticks in sort of upstate New York. George has taken a position as sort of like a temporary professor at one of the local universities, at sort of like an art college, and Catherine is essentially just there to look after the house and there to look after her daughter. She wants to get involved in sort of like the community and meet people and make friends and whatnot. So she goes off and starts trying to get involved in things. She goes down to the Historical Society and offers to be a volunteer, and she just wants to learn more about the place that she's living in and the new home and this sort of new town. Now, very quickly, we start to realize things aren't what they seem. The first night that they're in there, there's a ghostly phenomenon that happens. Their daughter, Franny, gets really, really frightened in her room. There's a couple of smashings and whatnot. And immediately, there's this unease. Things go on at George's work. People become suspicious of him. There's parts of his backstory that get read out to us. There's parts of, the backstory of the town, the backstory of the home that start to sort of come out. And Catherine, who's been kept in the dark this whole time by George, you just get this feeling. It's in the way that he talks, it's in the way that the camera stays on him, that there's a little bit of uneasiness under the surface with George. And even Catherine feels it as well. And she talks about it as well throughout the film. She'll talk to certain characters and she'll be like, look, we got married really quickly, we got pregnant, it was all an accident, blah, blah, blah. So in this movie, there's sort of these spiritual undertones, not so much religious, but spiritual undertones that are taken from the writings of Emanuel Swedenborg, who was a writer in the sort of mid-1600s to the early 1700s. George Inness has this piece inspired by Swedenborg's writing called In the Valley of Death, and it is a gorgeous painting. Like, George Inness's paintings, I looked him up after this movie. This dude had some serious fucking talent. So if you guys are looking for a new artist to enjoy his paintings, check him out for sure. I'm going to. And I'm also going to probably check out some Swedenborg stuff too, because his writing is very spiritual. It's not super scary. There are definitely a couple of little scares here and there. It's mostly tension, this film. I can't think of any jump scares in this film. I mean, I did watch it during the day, but realistically, it's more of just like a tense breakdown of a marriage, really. Like, yes, there are ghostly things. Yes, there are typical sort of horror cliches and whatnot, but it's mostly a drama, really, and it's a really uncomfortable drama too. I really, really like this movie. I can see how a lot of people don't like it. It is really long. It's 2 hours and 10 minutes. It reminds me of sort of like a mix between, say, I don't know, Amityville Horror, maybe Hereditary, and maybe something like Mother. Like, it's a very real sort of film. It doesn't rely too much on ghosts and whatnot. Yes, there are some ghostly sort of things. There is a little bit of CG here with the ghosts, but the ghosts are secondary to this film. The main focus of this film is focusing on the marriage and its breakdown. So overall, I'm probably going to give this movie, honestly, I really, really enjoyed it. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. A lot of people are probably going to give this like a 5 just because it's really slow and it is really long. It's not the most accessible horror film. And if you don't like horrors, don't worry about it. It's not terribly scary. It's just heavy content. So yeah, so for me guys, 8 out of 10. I really, really enjoyed this movie. Amanda Seyfried killed it. James Norton killed it. But yeah, if you guys have seen it, let me know what you thought about it down below. And yeah, until next time, be good people.